GM everyone, and welcome to a weekly episode of We in Web3, a podcast about you, me, Zam, basically people who are creating the Web3 ecosystem and adjusting the digital realm. From early adopters to newcoming celebrities, investors. I'm your host, Nikita Tsikaliuk, and as always, we're building the space by people for people. Together with me today, I have an amazing woman developer in Web3, Somi Arian. Somi Arian is well known on Twitter. She's the founder of InPeak XYZ, the platform for connecting people, the platform for creating, developing your career, and what is most important, the platform for educating people, learning about Web3 space. That is also the topic of our episode today. I'm extremely happy to see you, Somi. I've been waiting for you for a while. So welcome to Win Web3.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Nikita.
So amazed by our last meeting when we have back, what, like 3 weeks ago in London. That's actually the first time when I met you. It
Yes.
was at one of these side events around NFT London. And already then I knew that I want to have you at my show. I want to discuss with you what, in my opinion, is the most undervalued topic right now, the hottest topic right now is education. Because without education, without us properly explaining to people why security actually matters here, how you can start your brand in Web3 and what actually matters around NFTs, crypto, etc., there is no way for mass adoption. We're talking about bringing more people to the space. We're talking about all these traditional brands entering the space, but without us, OGs in the space, us influencers, educating people and giving them all these tools, there is no way to get the right expansion, the right mass adoption to the space. I know that you agree with it. Otherwise, you would not launch InPeak, which is extremely successful platform right now that is attracting not only newcomers but also some of long-term builders. Not that long ago, I joined your community and I'm a big fan of it. I also know that you are supported by some of the biggest OGs out there, like Zeneca. I know G Money also is one of early supporters of yours. So let's discuss all of it in today's episode. But first, I would like to start with the following question. You, being this big advocate for the space in the sense of educating, in the sense of onboarding, supporting people, where do you get all this energy? Where do you get all this passion to not just shilling your project as a majority of NFTs, like 90% of NFTs are doing right now, but actually to bring some value to people that is at a higher cost than what is the entry cost for your community? Where do you get this passion and energy?
Thank you. Well, I have ADHD. That's the simple answer. I have a lot of energy, but my passion for technology goes way back. I grew up in Iran, and I was born and brought up in Iran, and very early on, I got really, you know, I suppose I was really, really interested in technology. Maybe at the time I was so young, I wouldn't describe it that way, but it started with my love for understanding what life is about, and then getting into science fiction and really getting into this idea of what the future could look like. And especially having grown up during the Iran-Iraq War, there wasn't a lot of that around us, right? So I was very lucky that I taught myself English very early on, and that opened a lot of doors for me. It opened a window to the world outside. So I realized that there is another bigger world out there that was much bigger than what I could experience in growing up in a country like Iran, which was very closed and not exactly the best place to to explore these things. So so just because I learned English, I was able to learn. I was able to read books in English. I discovered philosophy. I became really interested in Western philosophy, and really got into Nietzsche. And then from there, I found a real interest in, the implications of his scientific theories and his scientific worldview for political science, political philosophy. Then eventually I came to the UK. When I was in Iran, I worked for United Nations and European embassies, and then I came to the UK. I studied political science and philosophy of science and technology. Then I got really into AI. And when I was doing a lot of research around artificial intelligence, I kept coming across this word blockchain. And I started to really dive deeper to understand blockchain. So unlike most people who got into blockchain because of Bitcoin or because the number go up, for me, it wasn't like that. I actually became first interested in the blockchain technology itself and what it could do. And I'm still fascinated by blockchain technology more than cryptocurrencies or even NFTs or anything like that. What really fascinates me right now is the idea of tokenization. I think that everything will become tokenized, and I think that there will be so many new ways that we can develop smart contracts. I'm fascinated by smart contracts. Right now, for example, we are creating soulbound tokens for InPeak, and the way that I'm designing the tokenomics, it's just really interesting, the things that you can do with it.
Oh, that's really interesting, because apart from you having this nature-born energy, you also have this passion and curiosity, I would say, for learning about new technologies that can innovate the future, something that is not that well known right now, but you want to dive deeper, like with all your head into this water and the ocean of unknown to actually explore it. And the first thing that I can see on your Twitter when going through your headline is tech philosopher. So perhaps it explains your passion for books at early stage of your career, as well as the tech aspect of your learning about the space. And without any doubt, the blockchain technology, basically the basis for all crypto activities, all basis for Web3, the future of metaverse, that is something new, that is something huge, that is something that like less than 10 million people is actually using on daily basis, and even less than that is understand it in that detail as both of us do. So I would love to ask you, how comes that you are that, let's call it, that fortunate enough to be in the blockchain technology, in the blockchain space, in the Web3 space that early? What was your journey of learning about Web3? Was it through crypto, just
No,
like me,
no, just like
myself,
I
or?
said, yeah, and like I said, I was researching AI. I actually didn't buy any crypto until much later, but I understood blockchain technology around 2020, so 2017, but I didn't buy it because of personal reasons, because of the relationship I was in at the time. But then eventually, once I got out of that relationship, I started buying. But basically, what I understood about blockchain technology, that I think a lot of people don't see it that way, and this might actually make it a good topic for a Twitter thread, is that I don't Babbage. Do you know Babbage? Have you heard that name? So
Yes, yes, yes,
Babbage was the person who designed the first computer, and this was
yes, yes,
in
I remember.
18 something, like towards 1900s, and basically when he created, when he didn't create, he designed it, like he drew it, and then about 100 years later, the first computer was, you know, his vision came to existence, and somebody created it. So basically what happened with that idea of the computer, Charles Babbage created computer purely, when I say create, designed computers purely to as a way to do logarithmic, you know, calculations. So it was designed purely for mathematical calculations. And then he had this really interesting woman, a protege that he had, who was I believe she was a countess, and you know, her name was Ada Lovelace. So she looked at that, and she realized that the computer could be used for many things more
Different
than just
reasons,
right,
exactly.
that it wasn't supposed to be just, or it wasn't going to be just for mathematical you know, calculations, and that it could also be used for you know, for music, for language, you know, so like for natural language processing. Of course she wouldn't put it that way at the time, but so she understood that. And that's why a lot of people call her the first ever programmer, because even though there wasn't a computer, she understood that you could use this thing, you could program it. That's how I see the difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? So what I see is that Satoshi came up with the idea of blockchain technology to use it for, you know, solving a specific problem with you know, money and with digital currencies. What the way I see it, what Vitalik understood, Vitalik is to crypto like Ada Lovelace is to, you know, to computers. So what Vitalik understood was that we could use this technology and in a way that we could program things, and that's what we call smart contracts. Now that I'm you know, doing a lot of research on tokenomics, and I'm basically designing the tokenomics for InPeak myself, I am realizing that it actually is super interesting because there's so many things you can do with tokens in a way that you could never do without them. So, for example, if you wanted to create a you know, an incentive system that would get people to learn something, to you know, to help you you know, create an ecosystem, you know, all of those things, like these are things that there's so many things you can do with tokens to encourage people to help you in different areas, you know, and to encourage them to learn things.
Exactly.
So any kind of behavioral incentive that you wanted to create, this is so much more powerful than let's say you know, um, the typical you know, Web2 models, the things that we discovered with like you know, affiliate marketing and things like that, right? So there's a real opportunity now to create interesting smart contracts. And I can tell you an example. For example, what we are doing with our soulbound token is that when you mint the token is going to be valid for 1 year, and then after 1 year it needs to be you know, renewed on the on Etherscan, and we will teach you how to do that. But basically, when you mint your token, it starts at level 0 base camp of Mount Fuji, and then from there you go to like level 2, you know, like heights, and then level 3 pinnacle, etc. By the end of the year, so every 2 months you have an opportunity to get an upgrade. By the end of the year, if you have unlocked all of your levels, you can get your upgrade for free, you know. So, or if you have you know, unlocked only 2 levels, then you get like 40% off. If you unlocked 4 levels, then you get 80% off, and
It's
so on.
basically the reward program. Yeah,
It's a
you
reward program,
are
right? In a way
you.
that you couldn't do that before, and you can visualize it in a way,
Yeah,
you know, that, and people can see on chain where they are. So super interesting. This is just one example that, that you can't do with Bitcoin, for example, right? Like,
Absolutely.
yeah. So the combination of visualization and art and all of those things, the combination of these things and the fact that you can, you know, uh, understand people's behaviors from their wallets, these are things that you could never do before.
Absolutely. I mean, I love the fact that you're approaching it from a fun aspect, let's put it like this, not just forcing users to get this new token or do specific activities, but actually the fact that those who want to be more active, let's say like 50, 60, 70% of your community, they can play in this, let's call it a certain game where you being more active, you onboarding more people, you bringing value to community, you get some reward later on, whether it will be in the form of token, whether it will be in the form of new roles, whether, I don't know, maybe at the end of the day, you decide that you organize some kind of in real life events and merchandise or
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
And I believe that since the blockchain itself is a publicly visible ledger, just like you mentioned before, people, and specifically companies, brands who are launching all these tokens, all these NFT collections, they can, for the first time in human history, they have the chance to make a better decision-making mechanism based on behavior of their holders, of their community. Because you can see, like me, for example, wearing the 9DCC t-shirt right now, admit ones that I know that you're still waiting to get yours. It allows G Money to actually go to your wallet, see whether you're a fan of Givenchy or Dolce Gabbana, and create some kind of collaboration with these brands or come up with some airdrops. The same goes with you. It's not only about your ecosystem and you bringing value back to this ecosystem, but also connecting with different communities and bringing more Web3 native people to your project through blockchain. So I absolutely love the fact that you're approaching it from this entertaining, fun fact, because that's the way how more people will join you. If it's just one of this million different projects, there is no worth entering and being part of your project. So we just discussed what's your original story, what fascinates you the most, and you said that you started being more and more evolved just a couple of years ago. So it's not from the early days of Bitcoin or early
Not
days
in
of,
terms of buying, no, but in terms of
yes,
studying blockchain technology since 2017.
2017, exactly the year when I joined, but still it's not the very beginning, even though it's early for both of us. The question I have to you, you launched InPeak a year ago. Am I right? A bit more.
2 years. So, but it
It's
wasn't called,
already 2 years.
but it wasn't called InPeak at the time. It was called
Yes.
at first. It was going to focus on women initially, and it wasn't just on Web3. It was like all areas of technology. But then we saw that there was a lot of interest in this space. So we decided to focus on it, and I started to get more and more interested in Web3. So I decided to focus on this. Um, and also this was the time when we did the pivot. We also realized that there weren't enough women, and it wasn't scalable enough. And also in terms of creating networks, it would make sense to have more men and both men and women. So then we rebranded to InPeak. But the platform we did, this is the third iteration of the platform. We did two different versions of it. We created some initial prototypes, and then from there we landed on the current format of it. But it's always constantly improving. So I think in this format, it's actually about a year.
About a year, exactly. At least that's how long I have been hearing about it. That's how long I have been seeing InPeak name. I do believe it was winter of last year, something like this. So the question I have to you, what was this preliminary vision for you starting the company in a way it was at the beginning? Like you said that it was mainly designed for women in Web3, but then you saw more of this interest from other parties. Because in my opinion, especially right now during bear market that we're having right now, which is also known as a build market for people to start building their communities, their projects, you need two things to start a successful project, especially in education field. First of all, you need to have this knowledge, this expertise yourself. And you already said that you entered the space back in 2017. So definitely you already had like 3-4 years of expertise. You were smart enough. But at the same time, you need to have this desire to educate people. You said that you have this energy to be everywhere, to be with everyone. But where does this interest for you educating masses came from? Is it because you saw the huge potential in the whole Web3 space and you wanted this space to evolve faster because you knew that you're going to have some place there and you want to grow with other people? Or it comes from some other background? I don't know, maybe you tutoring some people when you were back at school or whatever. Because what you're doing with InPeak right now, apart from providing this platform for people to connect, for people to develop their career and enter the Web3 space, you also interview people. You're also a podcaster, an author. You're also a public speaker. So you're doing all this kind of stuff, not being afraid of stage, not being afraid of connecting with more people, and building your community at the top of other communities, together with other communities. So where did it start from? Where did you get this interest of actually educating, not just onboarding people, not just being active in the space, but educating with the knowledge you have and bringing more to them?
Yeah, sure. So, in my book, which is about the future of work, I have a segment which is called transition architecture. And in my bio, actually, we always say that I refer to myself as a transition architect. The way I see it is that technology is moving so fast. I'm fascinated by technology. My dedication is not just to Web3, and it's not just to a specific group of people, but it's to technology as a whole. I believe that technology has a life of its own, and it's co-evolving with humanity, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it will continue co-evolve because I can see it taking over, and the way that it's moving, it's potentially going to we could become redundant as a kind of being, right? So if we want to um, have some form of persistent, persistence, I suppose, is what one way of thinking of it. If we want to remain some kind of we want our species to continue, we need to merge with technology. This is, I know a lot of people find that scary. They don't like it. They're like, oh, robots, etc. But this is the truth. This is the reality, and it's a reality that artificial intelligence is becoming more and more um, efficient, and in many ways it's becoming more and more like us, and and there are many things that can do better than us. So there are a number of different technologies that I'm fascinated by, and I think that this is where the cross section of these few technologies is going to define the future of humanity. These are artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, genomics, nanotechnology. These are like some of the cutting edge of different areas of technology that are going to define the future. And I don't say the future of humanity, but the future of
In
life
general, yeah.
in general. Yeah, right. So as a tech philosopher, my interest is in helping people who want to make that transition, because this is like the reason why don't I call it digital transformation? I call it transition, because there is no transformation. It's a constant transition. We are going into this exponential age. We don't know what's on the other side of it. It's like the singularity, where we don't know what will happen after that, right? So I am preparing for it, and I would like to prepare as many people as possible to, and help as many people as possible to stay, to stay at the forefront. Because, I don't want to live a life where things happen to me. I want to live a life where I make things happen. And, and if you are somebody who thinks the same way, then you need to be at InPeak, because our goal is to keep you ahead of the curve. So it's not just about NFTs, it's not just about Web3, it's about emerging technologies. And actually, that's why our tagline is join the exponential age. It doesn't say, come learn Web3. We are using the term Web3 right now because that's what resonates at the moment. If it's going to be Web4, we will go to Web4, so my dedication is not to a technology. My dedication is to technology, because I believe technology is defining the future of humanity and the future of life. And that's what's interesting to me.
And I absolutely appreciate you saying this, because that's exactly the same things that fascinates me the most. Let's be honest. You said that whenever there is a huge change happening to the humanity, whether in medicine, in communication, like a couple of years ago, work from home during COVID time, it's always uncertain, it's always frightening, but the fact how you approach it is basically what defines you. You can be either the one who is adapted, who is adjusted for this new reality and is creating his or her own reality based on it. People who are launching those projects, people who entered Web2 20 years ago during or before the dot-com bubble and remained there. So those are the platforms, those are the web pages companies who are using right now, or those who are afraid, those who are saying that it's going to happen to me when it happens, or I don't want to join it right now. At the end of the day, every single company on earth joined .com this era through internet applications, platforms, communication online, yada yada yada. The same goes here. Like Web3, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. It might take 5 years, it might take 10 years, it might take even longer, regardless regarding how you call it and how you say it moving forward. But basically, the fact that you need to be prepared for it, it all depends on you. And I love the fact that you're not only prepared for it, but you're also preparing your community, your friends, your close ones. And I definitely refer to myself and saying to community, because you're also helping, you're educating us, you're bringing us to this space. This is something that I personally, as a consumer, I don't know, as a person in this Web3 journey who joined it either this year, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I want to hear from these builders, these true OGs, people who are not only going on their own like a lonely wolf, but actually taking the whole squad, taking the whole team with them to educate people. So I absolutely appreciate you saying that. And with that being said, coming back to education, what are the biggest problems that we're facing right now, specifically in Web3 space when it comes to education? The reason I'm asking this question is really simple. In the recent, like half an a year, majority of the biggest companies, either crypto exchanges, NFT projects, some other Web3 related brands, either went down or just stopped being as active, as engaged as they were before, because their founding team losing the interest in the space or some other reasons. So what is the way for people to learn about this space, and what are those biggest problems that we're having in education about Web3 when it comes to all these influencers, all these YouTube channels, all these projects trying to onboard new people and explain to them how the Web3 space works?
So, new people aren't coming into the space at the moment, right? It's not going to happen until prices start to improve, which is very ironic, because when the prices are down, people won't buy, and then when the price is going up, everybody wants to buy. So it's the reality of human psychology. So right now we are not focusing on bringing in people from Web2. We're waiting for the market condition to improve, and then we will go heavy on that. Right now, our focus for the next 3 to 6 months is to bring everybody who is already in Web3 into our platform. Everybody who already has a wallet. There are a lot of problems with even the term Web3, because there are a lot of people who are, let's say, Bitcoin maximalists, or Bitcoin in the Bitcoin camp, who don't like NFTs, who don't like the term Web3. They think this is all a scam. They, there are a lot of, we have a marketing problem as well, right?
For
But
sure.
but that said, I think that this is 100%, this is the future. Now, I don't know which chain is going to succeed. My hunch is that Ethereum is going to succeed. That's why I'm building my business on Ethereum. Um, but and of course, Bitcoin will remain potentially, when I say of course, so no one knows the future, but it appears that Bitcoin is going to remain the store of value, and Ethereum is going to be the one where we do our stuff. It can be through layer twos or on main chain. But it appears that that's like the future in terms of where things will happen, and people will build. So that's that. And right now, our focus is not bringing in people from Web2. But when the prices start to go up, and there's, that the hype starts to come back, that's when more people are going to want to come back in. And then that's where we will capture them. So the way that my goal is for the next 3 to 6 months is to onboard everybody who's already in Web3 through our soulbound token. We are making it super cheap. Well, we are going to have two soulbound tokens. We're going to have a pro version, and which is like similar to our Genesis Pass, but like slightly more affordable. And then we are going to have the InPeak Learn token, which is the very cheap version, which is like for our the introductory price for our communities that we are collaborating with is 0.055. It's just like what, $60-$70. And so we are making it super affordable, and we want to bring everybody who is already in Web3. And then from there, when the market starts to improve, we will give incentives to those people to bring in their friends and family, and and teach them and help them create a wallet. And then once they create a wallet, then we can airdrop them, or we can teach them to mint, etc. We have to do a combination of, it's kind of like we have to meet halfway. We have to meet people halfway. So part of that is creating new ways of creating a wallet that doesn't require this whole 24 phrase thing, which is what people find super difficult and confusing. And the cold wallets need to become more user friendly, because the cold wallets right now, it's a bit of a nightmare, to be honest, logging in with them, etc.
I do know.
Yeah, so it's a combination of the wallets becoming more friendly, um, and people learning, and people teaching. But like, if I want to go and teach my friends about it right now, nobody's interested, because all they hear is SBF and FTX and Luna and Celsius. Like this year, the things that have happened in the Web3 space have not done us any favor, and it's made it really difficult. So like I said, we have a marketing problem. So right now, it's just no point even talking to people about it. We just need to give it some time until people forget a little bit, things improve, and all the leverage is washed out, and then try to rebuild in about 3 to 6 months.
You just mentioned your Soulbound token that is airing in the next week or so from the moment of recording this episode, and that is perhaps the biggest milestone that is coming to InPeak very soon. I want to come back to it just in a couple of moments, but before that, You mentioned the fact that for the next 3 to 6 months, you want to focus on people who are already in Web3. What happens with people who will join during this bear market? Because there are still some people who want to learn when things are bad, who want to enter when things are extremely low. Like, for example, ETH is almost 5 times, like 4 times for something from its peak to where it is right now. So basically, people are still entering the space. Even if we don't see it, some people are testing out it through crypto. Some people are getting some NFTs for free through POAP. That's how they learn about the space. What would be your suggestion for those Web3 unfriendly, Web3 not native people to learn about the space? Is it actually to go through Google and YouTube and find relative videos or podcasts about some of OGs and influencers talking about this space? Or you would suggest a more academic approach, just like you said, you started learning about this space through all these documents, white papers, researches, reports, like even the Soulbound token report that Vitalik posted this May, 60 plus page report. This is another way how people can learn it in a bit more technical way, which should be more challenging, but that's the way how you go it through hard paths and actually learn all aspects of Web3 in details. What would be your recommendation for newcomers entering this space?
Join InPeak. That's why, you know, we teach everything in a, you know, like you can learn a lot on YouTube, but but you need to know what you're looking for, and you're not going to always find. So basically, the things that we teach at InPeak are very practical, you know, like really practical things that you need, that stuff to find a job, to become a consultant, you know, like to become an expert. It's very different from the stuff that you learn on YouTube. And we really make a note, and we make an effort to you know, and of course it's like a classroom, right? So you can ask questions live, and then if you're watching the recording, you can see what other people have asked, you know, and most likely their questions are going to be your questions as well. So so I really believe that, and we've made it easy. You know, there's an on-demand section, there's a map. You go in there, it starts with connecting, it starts with getting started with Web3, then you go into getting started with Web3, then there's like, you know, everything is really designed in a way that's so easy to follow. And I would say that in most cases, what people need to do is literally just watch from top to bottom, because we've designed it almost like a course, so that, you know, it's very easy to go. Like you do need to watch the content that is in getting started with Web3 before you go to then Web3 for your industry. Then you go into Web3 for entrepreneurs and marketers, marketeers, you know, and then you go Web3 careers, and then safety, security. Then, you know, then you have NFTs a little bit down lower, right? So that you need to learn these more important things before you get to, you know, those things. But you can also just like go through and find different topics within that. But yeah, we've made it really easy to navigate for people, and we are constantly improving that as well.
I love it. And I mean, definitely one of the way for newcomers to learn about this space is to actually follow this biggest OGs in the space, biggest influencers, builders who already have some successful track record, who already have some background in Web3 or transition from Web2 to Web3. So I would love to hear what are some of these OGs in the space, perhaps Web3 native OGs that you have been learning from? Because I don't know if you have seen a news, like I guess about 2 hours ago, but Keith Grossman from Times just announced that he's leaving his position to join MoonPay team. So I showed some respect to him, because even though we're not personally connected with him, that is not required in Web3 space. I have been learning from him, from timepieces and all this community for a long time. And there's a lot of OGs like him who I have never met with, or who are not that close of my friends, but it doesn't stop me from learning from them, from following their journey. So who are some of the biggest builders, influencers, perhaps even just thought leaders in the space that you personally have been learning from since 2017?
I think that I mean, since 2017, most of them has been, like not. There's been more. I mean, initially it was more books. I can't even remember who wrote the books, but basically I found any book that was on blockchain technology. But I mean, more like the last couple of years, um, there's been obviously some really big YouTube channels like Bankless and I think the ones that I've watched a lot to this date, I still watch a lot. One is Bankless, another one is Coin Bureau, because actually we are also doing some collaboration with them. So we're going to do a session with Coin Bureau recruitment, and I have Macy's coming on my podcast, I think this week. So so that's those are some of the things that I've consistently watched. And then I would say that what really kicked off my career in Web3 and like really like was the turning point for me was joining Proof. When I got my Moonbird, and then bought a Proof Pass, I've been learning a lot from the Proof team, and generally speaking, following very closely what Kevin Rose is doing, and yeah, so it's definitely a really you know positive thing to be close to them, and and learn quite a lot from them.
That's amazing hearing from you being an active member of different communities, learning from those, because we both are members of Admit One. I know that you're an active member of Moonbirds as well, Proof, and you've been surfing the Web3 space, you've been surfing the NFT space apart from being your project, building your own project that definitely should get some respect from our side. So coming back to InPeak future steps, you just said that Soulbound token is perhaps the biggest milestone that you're having that is launching next week. That's also the way how in the next half in a year you're gonna bring more people natively to Web3 space. But before us jumping into specifics of Soulbound token, I do believe that for my audience, it should be worth to understand what is the difference between two NFT passes that you have right now. So the first one is Genesis. That is for Trojis who joined you at the beginning of this space. They know that supply for it is much lower. Logically that the price is much higher, but not that long ago you also launched your Genesis Gen 2 InPeak
So
Pass. So what is the difference between those
there's
two?
actually a very, very clear difference between them. So the Genesis Pass is more of a B2B thing. So if you have a Genesis Pass, you can put on your own sessions on the platform. We will help you with marketing them. You will get support for your project. It's more suitable for thought leaders, people who are either thought leaders or want to be thought leaders in the space. And people who have their own projects, people who are educators, content creators, right? So that's more for them. It's designed to sorry, my cat is making noises. So it's designed to help them establish themselves even more in the space, or if they are already established, it's designed to help spread their word even more, right? So it's really for builders and like I said, builders, thought leaders, and educators.
Yeah.
The Gen 2 pass is for people who want to learn, and then the Soulbound token is similar. Well, we are going to have the soulbound token version of both. So because as the community grows, we are going to need, more people. We need to bring in more people into our ecosystem. Our goal is to get to 3 million users by the end of 2027. That's in 5 years time, right? So we can't do that with tradable tokens. It's impossible. We need to have there needs to be a stability of price, and also a stability of a way that we can also track people's progress. That's why it needs to be a soulbound token, so that it we can know that this token is yours, and then we track as you progress in the space. So that's why we're moving to, I think, for an educational and networking platform, it's more focused on that. And then the people who own these, so they're basically, right now we have 375 tokens in circulation for our Genesis pass, and then we have 625 for our other one. But the total number, the actual total number for Genesis is supposed to be 450, and for Gen 2 is supposed to be 1200. But actually, we are thinking we probably will not release the rest. And actually, what we may do is we may actually buy back anything that's on the market and remove them from the market, and then we will probably be left with around 700 to 800 holders of our OG, because those are the only passes that are lifetime, and we want those to be our super fans. And then those super fans are going to get a lot of perks that other people won't.
You mean Genesis or both Genesis and Gen
Genesis and
2?
Gen 2. But Genesis
Okay.
more, of course, like, for example, when we have an ERC20 token, the Genesis members will get the most of it. Gen 2 will get some as well. And in general, these two passes are the only passes that are lifetime membership, because the other ones from future, from here on, they won't be lifetime.
Of course.
So as our network grows, these, at the moment, these 1,000 passes, but we might, like I said, we might actually buy some of it back and actually take them out of circulation, so which means that the price of these tokens will go up, because as we have got more people coming in, they are, especially the Genesis pass is something that more and more people are going to want it. And so we see these two passes as our flagship.
That makes sense, especially taking into account that your supply is not growing and might even go down, but the benefits that you're bringing specifically for thought leaders, as you refer to them, people who want to create content, people who want to maybe start their own brand, maybe to take it to a whole new level, it makes sense because you already have this platform that has a success track, platforms that has been used by some of the biggest OGs in the space, platforms is onboarding more and more people every single day. So absolutely makes sense to me. What's the logistics behind the distribution of Soulbound token? Because as I understood it right now,
It's quite
yeah.
complex.
Okay, let's put it really simple. What's the distribution for Genesis holders? Are they getting the Soulbound token as a drop? Because you said that there are two different types. The one that is cheaper, and the one that is more expensive.
The Soulbound token, people have to just mint it.
Mm-hmm.
The Genesis token holders don't need a Soulbound token because their token is already, it gives them full access to
It's a pre-order token, it's already
exactly.
high. Got it.
The Genesis pass, also they will be able to post jobs on the platform once we have our job board. They can hire, they will be they will be featured thought leaders. Like the Genesis pass gets so much, like they get so many benefits, and that's why we want to keep the number quite small, so that they are like at super fans that are like really engaged. And most of the Gen 2 is similar as well, and then the rest is going to be most focused on, once we have our ERC20 token, like let's say, for example, you've got the Soulbound token, you're going to be able to access all the content, that's for sure, right? But everything else you're potentially going to have to pay for once we have other things. That's why it's a really cheap entry, and we are going to then have our own token, our own ERC20 token that can be used for microtransactions on the platform.
I love it. I love it. I feel like we have covered Somi today as a tech philosopher, Somi as a content creator, as an educator. But I do believe that my audience would love also to hear a bit about you as a NFT trader, NFT investor, NFT holder, because I know that you are a member of different communities, majority of which we already, some of the biggest one we already covered today. Uh, what is your play in the NFT space? Apart from this being a bear market, this being a very tough, very challenging time, are you buying any NFTs? Are you readjusting your thesis behind NFT as utility based, like some reward programs that we were discussing before today? What do you do with the whole NFT space these days?
Well, I mean, if we can make this the last question, because I have a meeting starting in 2 minutes. So let me see if I
Absolutely.
can answer that very quickly. In general, my thesis about in NFTs, I'm not a trader. I don't really have the time or inclination to do that. My focus on NFTs has always been about access. I want to be able to have access to different communities. So I tend to buy NFTs just for the access. So that's why I have a 333. I have a with Seneca, I have, as you know, Admit One. I bought all of these things when they were quite expensive, actually. And I have a Proof Pass. I have a Moonbird. I'm going to buy a Punk. Hopefully, I'm waiting for 3-digit ETH. And I've got a VFriends Series 1 of FaceTime Frog. So I'm supposed to be able to get a 5-minute call with Gary so I can talk to him about our platform. So it's always been, for me, it's always been about access. I tend to buy NFTs to get access to different communities, and then
That's
when I
your thesis. Yeah.
then I get to meet people.
And that's your thesis behind it, Somi. I absolutely enjoyed having our conversation today. It was full of value-based content. It was full of your origins, your thesis behind the space. And I do believe that it's really important for newcomers to hear about some of the leaders from whom they are learning. So thank you very much for coming today. I do believe that I'm seeing you very soon at Origins XYZ Rag Radio show in a couple of weeks. But I will be very happy to see you back next year when we can take a look back, a reflection on what we have been discussing, what have you been doing in the space. You're doing it perfectly fine. I'm really happy to be connected with you. I cannot wait to meet you back in London and just keep on crushing it. You're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much, my
Yes.
friend.
All right.
Enjoy it.
Yes.
Bye
Bye.
bye.